Welcome to the show. We hope you have a blast. Thanks for making time for the Dealer Talk podcast.
What up? Welcome to another episode of the Dealer Talk podcast. This is your host, Herb Anderson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we have none other than Mr. Glenn Lundy on the show. Glenn, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I am great, man. I am great. Thanks so much for having me on. I truly appreciate you sharing this space with me. It's awesome.
Dude, thank you for doing this. This is going to be awesome. I'm super excited. I guess you need no introduction, man. So we're going to skip that part.
I don't know about that, but I appreciate it.
Just tell me what you've been up to, man. What are you doing these days?
Golly, man, a little bit of everything. COVID kind of hit us all, smacked everybody in the face a little bit. And so we've really been focused the last 6 months, just really, making sure to increase our outputs. I'm a huge fan. If you want your inputs to keep streaming, you got to increase your outputs. And so we were running hard, or at least we thought we were running hard back in February, and then everything hit and we're like, oh, okay. So we've just next leveled, man. It's been nonstop every single day for the last 6 months, and it's been great.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I remember when things first started, even including myself, we were all kind of in panic mode, right? Like we didn't know what to expect. If you were looking at just the situation in itself, you would have said like, "Oh, we're in trouble," right? But it's kind of taking the complete opposite turn. Dealers are having record sales months, record service activities. Why do you think that is, man? Are you seeing that too? Are you experiencing that yourself? And why? Why is that happening?
Couple things, man. Everything lined up for us. So the industry was really in trouble back in January. Like we were kind of coasting and people were doing some selling, but there was a huge drop off in consumers that were actually interested in buying a personal vehicle. There was a huge drop off in consumers having a need for a personal vehicle. And so young people were starting to be like, I'm never even going to have a driver's license. And people were ride sharing like crazy, and mass transit, and, people living in these high rent areas in these big cities, these big metros. And so, the industry was in danger big time. And, COVID hit, and basically what it did for us, it forced the whole dealer body to evolve at a super rapid pace. So we had to be resilient. We had to get creative. We had to come up with new ways. We actually worked together as a with the manufacturers, with the dealers, and with each other to figure out best practices and strategies. How can we do this? How can we do that? And the manufacturers really stepped up and kicked in with incredible incentives and rebates and, all these things. And so we were forced to evolve. We were forced to come together. And then the floodgates unlocked on millions of consumers, literally millions of consumers that were like, nope, I'm not getting in a ride share. I'm not getting in a car with someone else. I need my own car that I cleaned, that I know is cool. And then there was another group of consumers that were like, I don't have to pay $1,800 a month to live in this traffic congested ass area. Like I can go home and work from there, or I can go buy a house for 1/10 of the price with an acre of land and work from there. But then they need a car too, right? Because how are you going to commute back and forth from your to your suburban home, or versus an urban area? So that whole shift, the mindset shift, and that flux has really been a shot in the arm for us. Here in the auto world, it's like, okay, we're sexy again. We're sexy again. The personal car is sexy again. So hopefully we'll take advantage, learn from our mistakes, and continue to run with this momentum.
Yeah, dude, I love that you said the word learn there towards the end, because that's what I've kind of been emphasizing to the dealers that I work with is, dude, now it's such a prime opportunity for us to educate our consumers on the things we want them to do as far as their behavior, right? Because if you think about it, I think marketing has had very little to do. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you're marketing in the right way and sending the right message, that's helped with the COVID situation. But I think more so all the things that you described have really impacted the industry. And so now is just the prime opportunity to educate customers on things like why to schedule a service appointment. Why is that important? Why you should do that? Scheduling a test drive or doing a test drive before purchase, things like that have been kind of, I don't want to say issues, but little things within the process at the dealership that we've struggled with in one way or another. Do you see that? Do you see this as an opportunity for us to educate our consumers, especially with social media and things of that nature? I think that that platform in particular is one that I feel a dealer should be leveraging more to just with an educational message.
Yeah, I think educating the consumers, it's top of mind right now. It's topical, right? Like people are having conversations. They actually have slowed down and they're starting to get a better understanding of what's important and what's not. Another big influx for us right now is we've had this massive amount of tech companies and whatnot that have been coming into our space thinking that they were going to dominate and get rid of the dealer, right? Like Carvana and these other companies. They're like, okay, we're going to get rid of the dealer. And everybody was kind of listening to that. They're like, oh, maybe that's an interesting concept. But then COVID hits, right? And you need something and you need something locally and you need something now, right? And people were like, okay, wait a minute. This is kind of nice to be able to call my guy right down the street, take my car down there, get it serviced, make sure I've got 4 good tires, make sure if the apocalypse hits, I can run from the zombies, right? So it was an awakening for the consumer as well. Like there is value and benefit to having that brick and mortar place right there and the people within it that I can count on. And so, yeah, now that we have the ears and eyes are open and people are willing to try to understand a little bit more, it's an incredible opportunity to educate that consumer and really drive that loyalty to we're doing business with their hometown dealer.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Especially, if you stay local, right? Like a 30-mile radius from your dealership, I think that's where our focus needs to be now more than ever, because there's so much business in our backyard that we just don't pay attention to. I think we're thinking more, I don't want to say global, but definitely nationwide in a lot of the efforts that we do. And we forget that there's so much business right there that we can impact today, right? That person can drive to the dealership and so on. So I wanted to pick your brain on a couple of things, man, because I love your content, by the way. And as a matter of fact, I was just looking at a piece recently, and you were talking about running, right? You were giving a speech, and you were talking about running, and you said the difference between the successful people is that they're running towards, they know what they're running towards, right? So they're running with purpose,
right?
In this situation, man, that's what that we're in. I don't see that we talk a lot about the impact to morale, to you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, the business is good, the business side is good, but there's an adjustment at home. For example, my current situation, my kids are home and they have to go to school here. I'm in Las Vegas, and it makes it really tough to get to work, and it just kind of shifted the dynamics. At that level, at the mental level, if you will, what do you have for advice? Like, how do we in the dealership kind of, I don't know, speak to that, or what do we do with our employees to make them feel that we have empathy and we understand what they're going through? Like, are you having those kinds of conversations?
Yeah, man, it's an incredibly crucial time and opportunity to create lifelong relationships, with our employees, to get more out of our employees, to be able to serve our employees better. And really, it just comes down to a simple acronym that I use all of the time. I always remind myself this before I speak to my kids, before I speak to my wife, before I speak to a prospect, before I speak to an employee, before I speak to a potential client, all of that. I always remind myself of a simple acronym, and it's the word LEAD, except for I spell it with 2 D's, LEADD. And what it stands for is listen, encourage, advise, and develop, and do it daily. So right now, too many managers, right? Managers will go straight to advise. They forget to listen. They forget to encourage. They just go straight to advice. Here's what you're doing wrong. Here's what you need to do it better. Now get out there and take care of it, right? That's their typical management style. Whereas a leader will listen. Hey, Herb, how's it going? What do you got going on? So how's it been with the transition with the kids at home, right? We're listening. I'm listening to what you've got going on so I can show that I care, so that I can have that empathy, so I can connect with you on that level. Then I want to follow that listening process with some encouragement. Well, hey, man, Herb, I know a lot of guys that have crumbled in your position and you're doing it, man. You're still continuing to perform in the midst of having to make all these adjustments. You should be proud of yourself for being able to adapt in the way that you have. I'm proud of you as well, right? Encourage. Now, once I've listened to you and then I've encouraged you, now I've earned the right to advise you. Right. So now I can advise you on some areas that we could maybe work on, that we could, that could be a little bit better. Maybe it's some area that you kind of slacked off on a little bit. I need to let you know about that, so on and so forth. Once I've listened, once I've encouraged, you will now be more acceptable or receptible, I should say, to that advice. Then we need to follow that advice up with develop. Right. Now is a season of really taking time to develop your employees' skills. Everything has changed. The way we talk on the phone has changed. The way we connect with the customer has changed. The way we the way we get in a car, the way we pull somebody into the lane, all of that has changed. So I don't care if your employee's been with you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, or 25 years. They've never been with you in a situation like this. So a great leader would take this time to really develop your people, hold their hand, walk with them through the new process until they have a full understanding of it. Don't leave them out there with the head on a swivel trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So listen, encourage, advise, and develop, and do it daily, and you can control the mental space of your employee and continue to enhance performance.
Dude, I love that, man. That's really cool. I'm going to use that myself, man. That's really good.
Thank you, man.
Dude, so something I've been thinking about a lot, and I think you're probably one of the most perfect people to have this conversation with, or just to kind of pick your brain is, what do you do with those new salespeople that are coming into the industry now, man? You know what I mean? Because, I'm not a big believer that the industry has forever been changed through the coronavirus. I'm not there yet, maybe, but I just don't see that.
Sure.
But things are different. There's no question. Like what is your take on that? Like somebody fresh, never been in the car business, maybe starting his gig tomorrow, sort of a deal.
Perfect.
Like any advice, and like, how do you see that playing out?
Heck yeah, man. I love new hires. I love new opportunities. I love young people that have never done this before, because that is your opportunity to create the employee that you want versus the one that you've been stuck with for the last 10 years. So step one, when you have a new employee, especially if there's somebody younger, they're in the millennial era, it's really important that you plant a vision, a future state where they win, right? A future state where they win, and let's give them the roadmap of how they get there. So if I have a brand new salesperson, he's never sold cars before, he's a young person, I'm going to sit him down and I'm going to say, hey, Herb, check it out, man. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to sell cars for a year and a half to 2 years. All right. You're going to sell one car a day every single day that you're at work. That's your goal. If you're at work, we sell one car. We do everything we got to do to make that happen. Now, if you do that for the next 18 months to 24 months, you're going to get an opportunity to move into a management position. We'll probably move you over to finance. Now, once you're in finance, you're going to learn the banks. You're going to learn how to credit. You're going to learn how to get deals done. You're going to sell insurance products. You're going to make a lot of money. It's going to be amazing for you, Herb. And you're going to want to do that for probably a year and a half to 2 years. Now, after you do that, then you're going to get an opportunity to come over to the desk. We're going to put you in as a sales manager. You're going to get to lead a team. You're going to rock and roll. You're going to freaking love it. From there, you're going to get an opportunity for a GSM, which is going to take you to a GM, which is ultimately going to take you to an owner. What's that look like, Herb? You're going to be an owner of your own dealership, right? So plant that vision. And we all know it's not going to work like that. We all know that everybody's journey is a little bit different, but millennials need a roadmap, and they need to know that they're working for something bigger than where they are right now. So I love taking a clean slate and planting the seed and creating the employee that I want versus the, hard-nosed guy that's been in the business for 5-10 years and doesn't want to change his ways.
So I love that you said that, because in your program or your training sessions, do you see that that's something that's still missing in the dealership, a defined roadmap? Because I do, man. I don't see that very laid out. You know what I mean? Like you just explained it. Like it's you, as you're saying it, I get excited. I'm like, dude, that's it. That's,
right. Right.
But I don't see that
there's no roadmap, man. All they see when they come in typical standard average dealership across America, what they see is they come in and they see a bunch of old guys that are overweight, that are around the corner smoking cigarettes, that are drinking coffee in the morning, that are moving at a half a mile an hour, and they look and they go, dude, I don't want to look like that in 40 years. And that guy's all crotchety and he's grouchy and all that. And they're like, that's what I get if I spend 40 years in the car business. I gotta end up like that. Like, I am not interested in that, right? Millennials especially, they're not interested in that. And then they get oh, well, if you can sell 10 cars a month, which is one car every 3 days that you're at work, right? You're going to be here 12 hours a day. You're going to sell one car every 3 days. And if you do that, you're going to make enough money to barely pay your bills, right? Like that's what most of them get. And that's why most of them drop out in the first 90 days or whatever, because it sucks, man. So if you can paint a better picture, set the mindset, shift it right out the gate, first thing, and let them know what they're working towards, it's a game changer, bro.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Like I said, I mean that it'd be awesome if that was the kind of like the model in the industry, right? You go in and it's broken down like that. Like it just gives you something to work towards.
That's right. I'm working on that, man. I'm working on that. One dealership at a time.
Yeah, there you go. So I want to shift things here really quick and talk about your initiative, man. Like your program, Rise and Grind. Like I personally don't know the history behind that, and like I said, I follow your content, but I love to take this opportunity, for myself, just to learn like why you started, how has it developed, and what does it mean to you today, where it's at?
Yeah, sure, man. Hashtag Rise and Grind. So that's my daily morning show, Monday through Friday, 5:30 a.m. live on Facebook. And as of today, we've done 715 episodes. Our first episode was on January 6th of 2018. And really, man, hashtag Rise and Grind came from me seeing a lot of negativity in social media, a lot of violence, those types of things. And instead of, I am not the type of person to sit and complain. I'm a solution specialist. So I saw like, okay, don't complain about it. Let's be about it. Let's do something about it. So I thought, well, maybe I could create a space online, that's filled with motivation, education, and inspiration, a safe place that people could go and know that they're not going to get any of this other nonsense, right? So it kind of started like that. And then I was like, okay, well, when can I do that, right? At the time I had 5 kids. I now have 7 going on 8 kids.
Wow.
So I was like,
congrats, man.
Thanks, man. So it's like, when can I do that? I'm running a dealership 70 hours a week. I've got babies everywhere. Like, when could I actually go live consistently on a daily basis and offer that motivation, education, inspiration? And so the only time that I could find was 5:30 a.m. At 5:30 a.m., my kids are asleep. The world really hasn't woken up yet. I'm not going to get any emails or texts. I don't have to worry about the dealership. So I was like, okay, let's do it at 5:30 a.m. Then I layered on another piece. I was like, all right, the most successful people in the world, they all have a powerful morning routine, right? Like every one of them says that the way they start their day. So I started doing research on that, and I started realizing that the mind, first thing in the morning, just wants to consume so much data and information that is really an influential part of the human process, right? What you do first thing in the morning, how you start your day is going to determine your outcome for the day. So I'm like, okay, so from a psychological level, we could really help and be beneficial. I can create this space. I can do it when I know I'm never going to have any interruptions, so I can be consistent with it. And then the business side of me was like, incredible marketing opportunity for my dealership. Are you kidding? Like, there's a reason jingles work, right? Like, if I can make something stick first thing in the morning, and then later in the day, somebody asks you about buying a car, you're going to think of me because I was there first thing in the morning. So we started every show. We were like, my name is Glenn Lundy. I'm a husband to one, a father to, back then it was 5, general manager at Dan Cummins Chevrolet and Buick in Paris, Kentucky, the second largest used car franchise dealership in America. It's 5:30 a.m. and I hope you're ready to rise and grind. And so I would start every day like that, and that was sticking in people's heads. And so it was working on the marketing, and it was serving a purpose to helping other people. It was also really helping me. I needed a consistent morning routine. I needed a reason to get up every single day. I needed motivation, education, and inspiration. So I was filling all these voids. And as it started to gain traction and it started to attract more people who needed the same things that I needed, as it started to do that, I started following the lead process, right? Listen, encourage, advise, and develop. So I started listening, and the audience was like, yo, we want t-shirts and we want hats and things like that. And so I started making, there's the logo right there on that flag. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I started making, t-shirts and hats and stuff. And now we have a full-on clothing line. And then people were like, we want to be a part of a group, a private group on Facebook. So we created that, and it's got over 30,000 members, and it's nothing but motivation, education, inspiration. We don't let any news or politics or negativity or violence, none of that stuff's allowed in there. And then people were like, we want to meet offline. So we started doing events where we were getting together offline, which was super cool. And then I started thinking, okay, well, we need to serve the community. We basically, I don't know what that countdown clock was. Now we've raised over $500,000, that we've been able to help people offline. And so it's really just exploded, man, to this worldwide thing. And I've left the dealership since then. I left the dealership in October and been running my own business for 2 years now, helping other dealerships across America, really pouring into Rise and Grind. And it's been a heck of a journey, my man.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man. It's awesome to see that, something that you started because you, like you said, you wanted a reason to get up in the morning and stuff, and look at what it's become, dude. It's pretty incredible.
It's crazy, man. I read this book. There's this woman named Elizabeth Gilbert. Elizabeth Gilbert wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love. And she also wrote this book that I just read. What was the name of that book? I forget the name of the book, but I just read it. Big Magic, right? She wrote this book called Big Magic. And in this book, she talks about how so often we get caught up trying to create something that's going to save the world or save other people. And that's not what creativity and imagination is supposed to be about. It's like, what can you create for you that helps fill the void for you? And when you create that, if you allow that process to happen, then other people who find that they have similar voids, they'll be attracted to you. And so you can help other people through helping yourself versus trying to create something that's not necessarily for you. Like if I just go on a crusade to save Herb, like that's no bueno. But if I go on a crusade to make sure I'm the best version of me that I can be, and you're attracted to that, then by my leadership and guidance, I can help you too. It's a really cool way of looking at things.
Yeah, man. What about people who maybe are depressed or lack direction and focus? You know what I mean? Like something like that. Like it sounds simple, but getting up in the morning early every day, going to the gym or something like that. Something small. It doesn't have to be big, but just creating that routine really seems to be something that works. It works for me in my personal life, and I hear a lot of successful people talk about that. Just creating that habit.
Sure.
Do you think that's the case? Do you think that that's a way to kind of overcome, slumps that you may be going through in your life?
Yeah, I think it's really everything. I actually wrote a little book about it called The Morning Five, 5 Simple Steps to an Extraordinary Life. And it's just a little ebook that people can download. You can download, read it for free. It takes you about 45 minutes to read it. And The Morning Five, by putting these 5 simple things in place, never hitting the snooze button, don't touch your phone first thing in the morning, take the time to write down your gratitude and your goals. It's very important to do both and in that order. What are you thankful for? And then what are you reaching for? Take care of yourself physically, whether it be walk, crawl, run, play, whatever. An object in motion tends to stay in motion. So get yourself in motion. And then once you've done those 4 things, you'll be vibrating on such a powerful frequency that now you have a responsibility to release that out into the universe. So step 5 is just send out an encouraging message. Text somebody, send somebody a message on Facebook, something like that, like light somebody else up. And it's amazing, dude, that those 5 simple steps will completely change your life.
Yeah, but the problem is most people won't do them, man. That's what sucks. You know what I mean? Like a lot of these things really do work, but we just, as human beings, for whatever reason, we just don't put these things, we don't implement them.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing that we, it's simple. The roadmaps are there. The blueprints are there. We just don't follow them. So,
well, what a lot of people have to understand is we always act off of our last experience. Right. So we're programmed, right? 90%, actually, I think it's higher than that. 90% of our thoughts daily are not original. They're based on previous experiences, or we're thinking so far in the future, right? Very rarely are our thoughts in the present and original. And so because of that, once we've created a habit or a pattern that has served us, that has allowed us to be ultimately comfortable in some way, shape, or form, it's very difficult to shift that. And we definitely have a hard time shifting that in the short term. So the key is really to pick one, right? What's one step that you can take moving forward? Maybe it's attacking the morning. Maybe it's just the gratitude and goals part, right? What is one thing that we can start to attack? Knowing and understanding that it's going to be difficult, knowing and understanding that we'll probably relapse, we'll probably mess up, we'll probably make mistakes, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But if we can choose one thing, and I always suggest to people, like, what is one thing that if you were to change, you would be unrecognizable 30 days from now? Right? Like completely unrecognizable. Because typically when we plant a large enough seed on the other side, then people can do it, right? The guy that says, I can't wake up early in the morning, well, you tell him that there's going to be a bag with $50,000 cash in it. If he wakes up at 3:30 a.m., that sucker he'll get up, right? He'll barely sleep. So we just have to create. You have to give yourself that carrot, man. What's the motivation? What's the big thing on the other side? And once you create that, then you can start working towards it one little piece at a time. And just know we're not perfect. It takes a long time to reprogram, and that's okay. That's okay. Every step forward is a step forward, you know?
Yeah. Oh, no, I like that. Better is better, right? So,
that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so moving things along, I think I'd be remiss if I don't talk to you about social media, because and tie that back to the car business, because not only you have kind of leveraged that to your advantage, but people that you worked with in the dealership have also done the same thing. And it's been pretty cool to see for the industry in my opinion. I do have to admit that I think we're getting better in the automotive industry when it comes to using social media, for sure. Definitely in the last 2 years. But I still think that there's a lot of us out there that are afraid to, you know what I mean? And we're not leveraging the power. What would you say, man? Is that something well worth your time and effort, both as a leadership, in the leadership sense, like as a GM or a GSM, even an owner, as well as a salesperson, as an individual?
Yeah, sure, man. Even the most tried and trusted and veteran car dealership owner, GM, GSM, whatever position, we all know and understand that eyeballs are the key to success, right? We've got to be able to generate leads. We need more people to know that we exist. And the fact is, the data has proven that the eyeballs are on social media. That's where the eyeballs are. So if you want to succeed in today's era, you have to have a presence on social. There's just no other way to do it. You can't get the reach cost effectively on any other medium that you can through social media. So I think the only reason really a lot of people maybe refrain from it or have a hard time making that pivot or adjustment is it's just simply a lack of understanding, right? So the word no, when somebody says no, I won't do that, or no, I'm not buying that car, no, I won't post on social media, really it's not the letters N-O, it's the letters K-N-O-W is what they're telling you. They're saying, I don't know enough to feel confident taking that action, taking that step, doing that thing that you're asking me to do. So it really comes down to education. You know, people tend to have confidence once they have competence. So if I'm educated, I know, right? K-N-O-W, I know what I'm doing. Well, then I can have the confidence to go out and do it. And that's a big thing that we miss in this industry, man. Training, period, across the board is not always up to par in most dealerships, but really to sit down and train on the proper, effective ways on how to use social media. If more people would do that, then more people would be quick to jump in.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For sure. I love that. That K-N-O-W. That was pretty good, man. That makes total sense.
Thanks,
so how did you measure ROI? How did you see it? You know, because it's not so cut and dry, right? Social media, it's weird because it's not like you can say, well, I can attribute it to this. And even if you have a lot of success, let's say that it goes viral, that's not even relevant to your business, because it doesn't matter if people are watching it. If you get a million views and there's only 200,000 people in your primary market area, your social media famous, so to speak. But how does that impact your business? So as a leader, how would you say that we should measure those efforts so that we could motivate ourselves and each other to continue to do that?
So ultimately, you're going to see the results on your statement at the end of the month. That's where you're going to see it. And so activity breeds activity. We completely know and understand that. And most dealers know, if I load the airwaves on the radio with my jingle, I tend to get more traffic. Now, there's no direct link, right? There's nothing that says, I heard you on the radio, so now I'm here buying a car. We've never been able to be able to like create that linear connection. We've never been able to do it with radio, but everybody's been okay with that. We've never been able to do it with TV, but everyone's been okay with that. So it's the same thing with social media. You're not going to get a direct link, but you're ultimately going to see the results. The more activity you push out, the more people run into you, right? Grant Cardone talks about being omnipresent, where you want people to casually bump into you everywhere they go. It's not about punching in the face. It's about, oh, I see him over here. I see him over there. I see him over there. And that's what social media allows you to do. If you can get your team on board, now people are getting hit from all sides. They don't even realize it. You're just branding, man. It's just a jingle. That's all it is. It's a visual jingle. And I know these dealers love their dang jingles, man. They've loved their jingles for decades. They're like, I'm not changing the jingle. Even Dan Cummins, dude, they've had the same jingle for like 30 years. Now, let me tell you one more time exactly how I feel. I'd rather drive to Paris for a Dan Cummins deal, right? They have the same jingle. They get it. They love the jingle. But then they fight social media. Social media is just a video jingle. That's all it is, man. You're hitting people from all sides, letting them know you're there. You're building the brand. That's it.
I love that, dude. I love it. So we're getting close to that time, man. I wanted to give you a little bit of
for a podcast, by the way.
Yeah, that was good, man. Yay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Okay, so we're getting close to that time, there is one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, but I wanted to ask you about the 800% Club, and tell us about that. And then, obviously how people can get in touch with you and stuff, you're everywhere. And, obviously people know who you are, but I'd love to learn a little bit more from you, what that movement's all about.
Yeah, so 800% Club. So the dealership I used to run, we grew 800% in just over 5 years, from selling 120 cars a month to selling. Ultimately, we sold 1,043 cars in 27 business days in March of 2018. And this is in a small town, population 9,600. So we became the second largest used car franchise dealership in the country. And once I left that dealership, of course, other dealerships wanted to know, what's the secret sauce? How did you do that? And so I started off following the guidance of some of my friends that have been in this business. And I started off by going to dealerships, spending a day in the store. It was a day to fly there, day in the store, day to fly out, charging them whatever I had to charge, plus airfare, hotels, all these things. And what I found is dealers were really grateful and excited. 2 weeks later, they were really excited. 2 weeks after that, they kind of remembered what we talked about. And then 2 weeks after that, they weren't doing any of the things that I taught them to do. And so I was, how it is in the car business. And so I was like, this is not effective. I'm gone from my house for 3 days and we're not getting massive results. And that's all I want is massive results. And so I decided, well, what if we do this a little bit differently? Instead of helping one dealer every 3 days, right, and not even getting the results that we want, what if we could group dealers together, train them virtually every week, create a partnership, like an actual partnership, work with the owners, work with the general managers, shift the mindset, shift the culture, teach them how to scale their volume, their profitability, their employee retention, and their overall dealership environment, teach them how to scale those things, do it once a week with accountability, make it more cost effective. And that's what 800% Club is. So I now have 46 different dealerships that I work with. We meet once a week via Zoom. I never even step foot in most of their dealerships. We get together every 4 months or so for a little one-on-one FaceTime, because that's valuable and important to shake hands every now and again. But ultimately, I'm working with owners and GMs all around the country, helping them scale and get 800% Club results like we did over there in Paris, Kentucky.
Awesome, dude. That's so cool. Are they still performing at that level? The dealership that you were at?
So the dealership that I left they're still doing well. They're down, about 25% from when I left, but they're still selling 700 cars a month, So, yeah. Even being down 25%, they're killers. The owner, Josh Cummins, is an incredible human. They've bought 2 more stores since then, and they're getting awesome results out of there. So yeah, we've been able to create a culture and environment of winning over there. They lost a little bit of steam. I added value. I was an asset. I helped sell a few cars. Their social media is not on quite the level it was when I was there, which was drawing a lot of traffic. But overall, incredible business, one of the most amazing dealerships in the country. I would recommend them to everybody.
That's awesome, dude. Very, very, very cool. So obviously, I don't need to say it, but I'm going to go to the show notes, and we'll, all the information is going to be there. We'll put in how to get in touch with Glenn, and hook you guys up with his link to his podcast if you're not one of the people listening to it, which you probably are. So there's one question that I ask everybody that comes on the show, man, and that question is, where do you see the automotive industry headed in the next 5 years, and why?
So you've got basically 3 outcomes, or 3 types of dealerships. So we have A dealership, B dealership, and C dealership, right? So your A dealership is your mom and pop shop that's been selling 120 cars a month. They've been doing it for 50 years. It's 3rd generation owner, and they've been profitable. They've been making $1 million a year, and they figured that model would last forever, and that's what they're riding with. Then you got dealership B, which is a high volume dealership similar to the one that I worked at, that has grown massively over the last few years. They've created their own economy. They're starting to turn some massive volume. They're not making huge profits per deal, but ultimately volume solves everything. And then we have C store, which your C store is Carvana, Amazon, the players that are starting to come in, the manufacturers themselves, where they're trying to do things direct to the direct to the consumer. So here's what I see in 5 years. I see the mom and pop stores that have been selling 120 cars a month for the last 50 years and figured that model was going to last them forever, starting to get gobbled up by these high volume stores that have figured it out. That volume solves everything. So they're going to start getting bought out, and we're going to have a bunch of groups of dealerships instead of having a bunch of individual independent stores. Those groups can actually withstand the pressure that's coming from the Carvanas, the Amazons, all of those guys. As a group, we can create our own economy. As an independent, old-fashioned store, we cannot. So 5 years from now, you're going to see 40 or 50, maybe more, I don't know. But instead of seeing 17,000 individual stores, you're going to see hundreds at most of groups of car dealerships that are running up against the big boys.
Right on, man. There you go. Thank you so much for doing this, dude. I really, really appreciate it. This has been a lot of fun. Learned a lot. I had some takeaways myself. So I really appreciate you jumping on here with me today, man. Thank you.
Of course, man. Absolute pleasure, man. You give a great interview. Awesome questions. I had a good time.
Thanks, brother. Glenn Lundy, everybody. All righty. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it. That's all the time we have for today. And as usual, we'll talk later.
The vendor LexisNexis, we don't sell digital marketing.
What you do?
We inspect it with our DT vendor management solutions. We come in like the EPA to clear out the pollution.
Take the trash
So
out.
keep your P&L clean, your inventory lean.
From product pitches, meetings to cost negotiations, your vendors have you swamped. You have cars to sell, but most of your time goes in managing your vendor relationships. Wouldn't it help to have someone navigate the way ahead? Enter Dealer Talk Vendor Management Solutions. A filter between you and your vendor so you only have to deal with what's most important. We inspect your digital data to get optimum results for your money. Here's what we do. Give you an accurate idea of what's working and what's not for every digital service. Get vendors to submit monthly highlights, lowlights, and recommendations. Sift through their data to give you those metrics that matter. Evaluate all package, content, or cost changes and product pitches. Do monthly marketing budget analysis to ensure better ROIs. Finally, we give you concise reports and monthly videos with actionable insights. Now, you can focus on what really matters, selling cars. Contact us today and your first 30 days are free. Let's build your business together.